Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another zombies video on the channel. We are back today with another Q&A, taking your questions from the comment section below and answering them to do with the Call of Duty Zombies storyline and Easter eggs. As always, if you go on to enjoy today's video, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Could we shoot for 1k likes on this video? That'd be very much appreciated. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. And without further ado, when you're ready, here we go. So the first question of today from Shadow, Sean says, BOA, is it possible that the Shadow Man was controlling the zombies the whole time and made Richtofen and Samantha believe it was them who was controlling them? Love your vids. So no, I do believe Samantha and Richtofen did actually control the zombies. As we know, anyone who enters the MPD has control over the ether, which means that anyone who's inside of it can control the zombies. Since Samantha and Richtofen have both been inside, they have controlled the zombies. We don't know if the Shadow Man has control over the zombies. I mean, we don't see any evidence of that in the game itself. Surely if the Shadow Man did control the zombies, he wouldn't have the need to send them after the 5 crew or people like that. Like I said, it doesn't tell us in the Canorium, it doesn't mention that, and since that's, well, if that was true, that would be a pretty big part in the storyline. Surely I think the Canorium would say that. There are some people that believe the Shadow Man was in control of the zombies in Mob of the Dead. Since we know it takes place in Purgatory, and also these zombies' eyes are red, we don't know who was controlling them. It wasn't Samantha, it wasn't Richtofen, so who was it? We believed at that time it could have been the devil, and well, the Shadow Man kind of is the devil in our storyline. We kind of see it like Dr. Monty as being the god, and then the Shadow Man as being the devil, Satan, someone like that. So I know a lot of people actually think the Shadow Man was controlling them in Mob of the Dead. Not only Mob of the Dead, but also Gorod Karovi and maybe even Revelations. But that doesn't really make sense. How all of a sudden, in Gorod Karovi, just out of nowhere, how does he all of a sudden just gain power over the zombies when he didn't have control of them in the previous map, which was Zetsubo no Shima? Like, no drastic changes happened in the storyline for him to suddenly, in between those two maps, gain control. So no, as far as I'm aware, the Shadow Man never had control of the zombies, but Samantha and Richtofen did. Luna Wolfpack 123 says, well, hopefully BOA sees this, but if our characters, aka Primus, have been through the Revelations ending a million times before, why did none of them kill Monty or ignore Richtofen? Did they already try but failed? Please let me know. Love your videos, keep up the good work. So that was a little bit confusing, but to put it down in simpler terms, what you're asking me is, why did the Primus characters who have been through this whole zombie storyline thousands of times before, why didn't they kill Dr. Monty if they knew what he was going to do to them? At the end of Revelations, when they see that he's going to wipe them from existence, if they've been through this cycle thousands of times before, if they knew what was going to happen, why didn't they stop it? And I think that's got a pretty obvious answer, and that would be that they obviously didn't know. If they did know, surely they'd do something different. Surely if they knew what was going to happen, they'd put a stop to it, they'd try to kill Monty or something like that before those events and Revelations even happened. So the obvious answer is, they don't know what's going to happen. Yes, even though they may have replayed these same events thousands of times before, each and every time they do it, they don't know what's going to happen because they can't remember. Take your mind back to Mob of the Dead. We are in a cycle in that map, but even though them characters have done that same cycle many times before, it took them up until the 3rd or 4th attempt, their 4th time around, until they actually remembered what was going on. It took them their 4th try or 3rd try, I can't remember myself, but it took them a while for them to actually remember they'd been here before and actually realise they were stuck in a loop. So maybe it's the same for our Primus characters. Yes, they've done these same events over and over again, but they just don't remember. Every time they get sent back, their memory, you could almost say, gets erased. We don't know that, but for some reason they don't remember doing these events. Another example I could give you is Die Rise. In that intro cutscene, I'll show you guys in just a second, but our characters end up fighting the zombies and accidentally die, they get killed. And so Richtofen sends them back in time to the very beginning of that map. And you will hear Samuel say, have we been here before? Yes, he has, maybe 100 times before, but he doesn't remember dying in Die Rise.
I don't understand.
What are you talking about, Stuhlinger? Misty made it pretty clear.
Except for fate, begin anew!
We're going down! We're going down fighting! Ah!
Have we been here before?
he has a slight inkling in his mind. He seems to remember this setting. He says, have we been here before? He questions himself, but he doesn't know 100% that he has. So it seems when our characters are sent back to these loops that they are stuck in, whether it's Mob of the Dead, Die Rise, or just the whole zombie storyline in general, when they get sent back to the beginning, they can't remember having been here before. Maybe in the back of their mind, some things look familiar, they may question themselves, but they don't know 100% what went down before. And so for that reason, that could be why the characters don't kill Monty, because they can't remember that he was going to kill them or he was cheating them. So that's the answer I could give you. But of course, it's not 100% confirmed that our characters are stuck in a giant loop. That's our theory as of right now. That's what we got from the Revelations ending. But of course, we'll just have to wait until Black Ops 4 or whatever it's going to be called to find out. The next question from the Fantastic Gamer says, if the transit crew went to Alcatraz Island, wouldn't they see the Mob of the Dead crew? And the answer to that would be no. The Mob of the Dead crew died before the transit crew actually went there. The Mob of the Dead characters died in 1933, and then we know after that they were sent to Purgatory on the island. They were stuck in the afterlife. Stanley Ferguson didn't even finish building the laboratory under Alcatraz until 1941, so even by the time the lab under Alcatraz was finished, that was 8 years after the Mob of the Dead crew died. So they'd been dead for a very long time before. And even then, the transit crew didn't arrive at Alcatraz until a little bit after. So no, they wouldn't have met them because the Mob of the Dead crew died many years before they got there. I guess you could also ask the question, well, if the Primus crew traveled to Alcatraz, didn't they meet the Mob of the Dead crew then? And again, the answer would be no. As I said, the Mob of the Dead characters died in 1933, and then in Zetsubo no Shima, we know if we take a look at the end of that Easter egg, Richtofen takes the crew to Dimension 63 to collect the blood vials from the prison. We're not given a date as to exactly which time they travel to, if it's before or after the Mob of the Dead characters were killed, but either way, they didn't meet them because they didn't go to the cell ward. It seems like they just teleported to the labs, the doctor's quarters, the hospital on the island, whatever it is. They traveled to that location, collected the blood, and then went straight back to Zetsubo no Shima. There would have been no reason for them, if the characters were alive at that time, to actually meet them. So no, neither the transit characters or the Primus characters have actually met the Mob of the Dead crew. The next question says, can you tell me the new backstory on the Denizens now the Chronorium is out, because you haven't done an updated version? So that's right, the last video I did on the story of the Denizens was all the way back in April of last year, so about 9 or 10 months ago, and during that time we didn't have the Chronorium, and so that video was made up of only tiny bits of information that we had about them, including a little bit of theory and just things that made sense. But like I said, of course at that time we didn't have the Chronorium, so there's bits of information about them that we didn't know, which means there was gaps missing from that video. By the way, if you want to check it out, I will link it down in the description. Actually, I would say about 90% of it is probably correct. It's definitely an interesting one if you want to check it out, but since we've had the Chronorium, like I said, we now know what the Denizens are about and where they come from, who made them. So the Denizens were created by Broken Arrow on April the 10th of 2023. We also know that Broken Arrow created the Avogadro. However, he was an accident, but he was made 2 years after they created the Denizens. We're not sure in exactly which location they made them. We are not told in the Chronorium, but my best guess would be in Transit. We see in Transit there are labs everywhere. There's a lab under the bank, and there's also one on its own area as well where you find the Avogadro. And since, like I just told you, Broken Arrow created the Avogadro, he was an accident. Since we know they made him, we can only say that that lab in Transit where we find the Avogadro was Broken Arrow's. Broken Arrow had a lab in Transit. This right here is theirs. There's also another one, like I said, under the bank. This lab looks exactly the same. The layout's pretty much similar as the other one, so we can also say that this one belonged to Broken Arrow as well. They had a few different secret labs, not only in Transit, but also other places as well. So your best guess would be that Broken Arrow made the Denizens in these labs in Transit. Why they made them, I don't know. There's also other bios and experiments, creatures that they created. There's tens if not hundreds more besides from these that Broken Arrow made. I would love to see them. I'm hoping in the future in Black Ops 4 we get to see another boss, another side zombie or whatever you want to call them, another experiment as kind of like a dog round from Broken Arrow. I want to see another one of their creations in the game in Black Ops 4. But that's the simple answer. There's really nothing else I could give you. They were made by Broken Arrow. We know they also had a base in Nuketown. That one, however, exploded due to the drill. They had many others located around places. They were just a very secretive group. And so because of that, I can't tell you much more. Anyway, guys, there we go. That is all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating, smash that like button. Could we reach 1k likes on this video? That would be very much appreciated. Make sure you leave your comments, any questions you have down below. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and of course I will see you all in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.